As a manager, you should be able to appropriately and effectively identify team members exhibiting signs of being under the influence. Post-accident drug and alcohol testing cannot be performed based on a mere hunch. This training delivers the necessary tools, knowledge, and skills to recognize and appropriately handle team members exhibiting signs of being under the influence. During this training module, you will learn the how, when, and why of proper reasonable suspicion testing, the company's policy on reasonable suspicion drug and alcohol testing, the steps in the reasonable suspicion process and how to successfully execute each step, how to determine reasonable suspicion testing when a team member appears to be under the influence, the process for documenting observed behaviors. At the end of this training module, you should be able to properly interpret and apply the company's policy on reasonable suspicion drug and alcohol testing, identify the 5 steps in the reasonable suspicion process, and explain how to successfully execute each step. Recognize any signs and symptoms of alcohol and drug use, and describe what to look for when determining reasonable suspicion. Demonstrate how to properly document observed behaviors using the reasonable suspicion checklist. Before we get into the details of this course, let's see how much you already know. There are 4 questions in this pretest. Your pretest score will not be recorded. Select Next to begin the pretest for this course. Here are some terms and definitions you should become familiar with that will help you learn some of the content throughout this module. Reasonable suspicion is defined as a legal standard of proof in United States law that is less than probable cause, the legal standard for arrest and warrants, but more than an inchoate and unparticularized suspicion or hunch. It must be based on specifics and articulable facts taken together with rational inferences. In other words, reasonable suspicion is you must be able to describe the reasons for the suspicion. Again, you must be able to describe the reasons for the suspicion. Under the influence. A person is considered to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs when their mental or physical faculties are impaired to a degree that their ability to think and act with ordinary care is reduced due to drinking or taking drugs. As a manager, you have an obligation to provide a non-hostile and, as much as possible, a safe workplace for your team members. Professional team member behavior is a reasonable expectation, and a drug-free workplace policy is an important step in setting that expectation. Our company's drug-free workplace policy makes it clear to all team members that the sale, purchase, use, possession, or reporting to work under the influence of intoxicants, non-prescribed narcotics, hallucinogenic drugs, marijuana, or other non-prescribed substances, controlled or otherwise, including the inappropriate use of over-the-counter medications, is prohibited while on company property or during work hours. For more information on the company's drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, you should refer to your team member handbook. A drug-free workplace policy and a drug and alcohol testing policy are not the same thing. The drug-free workplace policy simply outlines the official company position regarding drug use, while the reasonable suspicion drug testing policy deals with the logistics of the how, when, and why of each policy. We reserve the right to do reasonable suspicion drug testing on team members who you believe to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Because we have a drug-free workplace policy, there are circumstances under which you may need to send an existing team member for a drug test. However, as a manager, you cannot drug test a team member who causes or contributes to an on-the-job injury that results in licensed medical treatment and/or the loss of work time to determine the presence in his or her bodily systems of drugs or alcohol without reasonable suspicion and authorization from your area development manager. Remember, your ADM must be notified first and presented with all the signs and symptoms you use to determine possible drug or alcohol misuse. Reasonable suspicion testing determinations involves 5 steps: observation, documentation, communication, confrontation, and testing. To ensure consistency in your reasonable suspicion testing protocol, please use the following steps. Step 1. Observation. What do you see, hear, or smell? Step 2. Documentation. Use the reasonable suspicion checklist to document the signs and symptoms. Step 3. Communication. Call your ADM and communicate what you observed about the team member's behavior, appearance, speech, or body odor associated with substance misuse. Step 4. Confrontation. If given permission to test by your ADM, always take the team member to a place of privacy to discuss what you suspect. Step 5. Testing. Tell the team member where and when they will be required to submit to a drug test. Remember, your suspicions must be based on your specific observations. You should be able to explain what you see, hear, or smell, both verbally and in writing. If you have observed behavior that causes you to believe a team member is at work under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you should immediately complete the reasonable suspicion checklist form. The reasonable suspicion checklist can then be used to help you describe to your ADM the signs and symptoms that validate your suspicions of substance misuse. Based on the substance misuse indicators, your ADM will make a determination whether reasonable suspicion exists to require a team member to undergo drug and alcohol testing. The Reasonable Suspicion Checklist form contains 4 substance misuse indicator categories. They are physical, behavioral, speech, performance. Under each category is a list of substance misuse indicators. Some examples of these substance misuse indicators include glassy eyes, lacks concentration, and uses profanity. Others include errors in judgment and poor decision-making. Now, let's learn how to complete the Reasonable Suspicion Checklist. It's important that each category is correctly evaluated and selected based on its corresponding substance misuse indicator. For example, if a manager has reasonable suspicion that a team member has an odor of marijuana, he or she would first locate the physical category. They would then select the appropriate substance misuse indicator listed, namely odor, marijuana. Let's look at another example. Suppose a team member is exhibiting substance misuse indicators such as slurred speech, sudden mood changes, and cannot complete tasks. These indicators should immediately alert the manager that he or she has enough reasonable suspicion to proceed with documenting the Reasonable Suspicion Checklist. A copy of the completed Reasonable Suspicion Checklist should be scanned to your ADM, who will send it to the HR department at hr@zax-inc.com. All reasonable suspicion checklists regarding an individual team member must be kept in a secure manner to prevent disclosure to unauthorized persons. After you have verified that your ADM has received the scanned copy, immediately shred the document. If a team member appears to be a danger to themselves or others, you should immediately remove them from any safety-sensitive positions and have them sit in the dining room while on the clock and wait for the ADM to respond with direction. Some examples of team members that appear to be a danger to themselves or others are: they shouldn't be around equipment of knives due to the fact that they may accidentally hurt themselves or others. They may become violent, hostile, or unruly. In cases where team members become violent, hostile, or unruly, you should call the local authorities. If they do not seem to be a danger to themselves or others, then they can just continue with their normal tasks until your ADM responds with their decision. Using the completed Reasonable Suspicion Checklist, you should accurately describe the reasons for your suspicions to your ADM. Your ADM will make a decision based on your reason for suspicion to proceed or not with the drug testing. They will also coordinate when and where the test should take place. If you have been instructed by your ADM or risk management department to have a team member drug tested, you must send the chain of custody form with the team member to the doctor. After the team member has finished their drug test, they must bring a completed copy of the chain of custody form back to you. Place a copy of the chain of custody form in the team member's personnel file. Remember, under no circumstances can you make a decision to send a team member for a drug test without approval from your ADM, HR department, or risk management department. Now it's time to test your knowledge on reasonable suspicion. You will be presented with 4 questions on documenting the correct substance misuse indicators. Using your mouse, click on the correct substance misuse indicator and then select the Submit button. If a team member has an odor of alcohol, which physical substance misuse indicator should be checked? If a team member loses their temper easily, which behavioral substance misuse indicator should be checked? If a team member speaks loudly with slurred speech, which speech substance misuse indicator should be checked? If a team member displays a lack of awareness, which performance substance misuse indicator should be checked? Congratulations! You have successfully completed reasonable suspicion training. You should now be able to explain the how, when, and why of proper reasonable suspicion testing, describe the company's policy on reasonable suspicion drug and alcohol testing, identify the steps in the reasonable suspicion process, and explain how to successfully execute each step. Recognize the signs and symptoms of alcohol and drug use, and describe what to look for when determining reasonable suspicion. Demonstrate how to document observed behaviors using the Reasonable Suspicion Checklist. If you have any questions or concerns about the material in this course or your responsibility, please consult with your Area Development Manager. Thank you.